I'm Christian Burri from the Swiss Tropical and Public Health Institute, and I've been in and around clinical trials in low and middle income countries for the past 25 years. And I think what we have as an opportunity today is really something great. And I would like to thank the Global Health Network and the EDCTP for this opportunity for creating these opportunities. I think protocol development is really in the center of clinical research, because that's where operations and science and medicine are coming together. And I would like just to give you a very few basic considerations before we start out with the talks and with the introduction to the tools, because these are really great tools that are nowadays available, which were not available quite some few time ago. But availability of tools does not relieve us from doing some serious and very serious thinking. And some things that I would like to just stress is be practical and be scientific. The protocol volume has over proportionally increased in the past 20 years. And so if you define your research question and collect the respective data, please think of not adding numerous so-called nice to haves, and maybe we will need this and we will need that, but stick to your questions and run the tests and collect the data that you really need to respond to your original question. Then the next is structure your protocols well. If you have redundancies, and then you have to do an amendment or to explain to somebody, you really risk to have discrepancies very, very rapidly. So structure the protocols, make them well readable in language and in logic. If you have a very complex trial, resort to lab manuals, to excerpt for the different functions, to investigator manuals for the very details. So keep the protocol to what it has to be. And then another thing that we very often see in practical life, I'm also on the Swiss TPH Human Subject Research Board, where we review the projects of our colleagues, is that there is a lack of coherence between protocol and the patient information and informed consent, because this information that you provide there has to be coherent and congruent. So if you say something, the protocol, you have to have it with the patient needs to know, and also this is the information you have to collect. There have been some quite some informations and publications in the past that have been made on clinical trial quality as a general topic, but in particular also to there were reflections on what is a good clinical trial protocol, and you should see a link very soon coming up in the chat to a publication by Nerina Fischer, who worked a lot on clinical trial quality, and particularly also there is one publication that we wrote on increasing protocol suitability for clinical trials in sub-Saharan Africa. And if you want to take it a little bit larger from protocol to quality, the protocol is part of your complete quality setting. And since it's so difficult to define quality as a concept, there was also research being done at the University of Basel on research and quality frameworks for clinical trials. And I also would like to share in the chat a link to publications that have been coming out. And at the moment, actually, we are working in our team on a following up on this so-called Inquire framework, which is a general quality framework, and actually defining this for resource limited settings. So before we now go into the presentations, as a summary, please use your scientific and practical brain if writing up a protocol when using these tools. And with this, I would like to actually hand over to Johanna Roth, who is a project officer, has been the project officer at EDCTP for the past almost 3 years. And she will give us an introduction to the EDCTP organization. Thanks, Johanna.
Thank you very much, Christian. So good morning and good afternoon to you all. From the side of EDCTP, my colleague Lara Pandea and myself are coordinating this activity with the Global Health Network. And I will just take a few minutes to introduce EDCTP, perhaps especially for those who are not so familiar yet, and to explain who we are and what we do, and also to give some background on why we embarked on the development of the EDCTP Knowledge Hub together with the Global Health Network. So EDCTP is a public-public partnership between currently 14 European and 16 African countries, and it is supported by the European Union. EDCTP operates as a member state-led initiative under Horizon 2020, which is the European Union's framework program for research and innovation. And this map shows the current participating states, but that doesn't mean that funding is restricted to these countries only. So any participants from sub-Saharan African countries, the EU, or countries associated to Horizon 2020 are eligible for funding. So EDCTP aims to accelerate the clinical development of new or improved medical interventions for the identification, treatment, or prevention of poverty-related infectious diseases. And you can see around the edge of this pie chart the diseases that we're covering, and these include TB, HIV, neglected infectious diseases, malaria, emerging diseases, diarrheal diseases, and lower respiratory tract infections. So EDCTP covers all phases of clinical trials from phase 1 to 4, including product-focused implementation research. And support for research is integrated in the approach with the development of clinical research capacity to strengthen the enabling environment for conducting clinical research in sub-Saharan Africa. And while clinical research is the core activity that we fund, we do have a comprehensive package of capacity development activities. And you can see in the inner circles of this pie chart that this includes, amongst others, a fellowship program, ethics and regulatory capacity, and a number of short and long-term trainings and networking components as part of our clinical trial projects. So at the end of 2020, EDCTP has awarded 800 million to 410 projects. And of this 675 million is going towards 134 projects with large-scale clinical trials and other clinical research activities conducted by consortia with the EU and with European and African partners. And 82 million is going towards clinical research capacity development activities, and these are the so-called coordination and support activities. And 42 million is going towards 192 fellowships that focus on the career development of individual researchers. So this map shows the footprint across the EU and Africa, where you can see that we currently support clinical activity, research and capacity development activities in 60 countries across Europe and Africa. And even though researchers from elsewhere in the world are not eligible to receive EDCTP funding, they can and often do participate in projects that we support. So participation is often global and the reach of EDCTP is therefore quite wide. Since 2009, EDCTP has also been supporting 4 regional networks of excellence across Central, Eastern, Western, and Southern Africa. And these are networks of research centers that are involved in clinical trials, and they facilitate research collaboration by uniting diverse institutions in and between the 4 regions, whereby each of the institutes contributes their individual strengths. And you will hear more about these networks from Professor Pontiano Kalibu, one of our panelists, who is the coordinator of the East African Network. And apart from these 4 regional networks of excellence, since 2016, EDCTP has also been supporting 2 large international epidemic preparedness consortia, and these 2 are called ALERT and Pandora. So as we move on to the topic of today's webinar, protocol development. Protocol development is a very essential first step in turning a research question into a study. And the most important preparation for successful clinical trials is the conception, development, and refinement of a clinical trial protocol of high quality and integrity. It should be noted that several parties, including research funders, publishers, regulatory agencies, ethics committees, policymakers, and patient groups, increasingly implement strong endorsement policies to promote adherence to protocol development and study reporting guidelines, such as Spirit for Protocol Development and Consort for Reporting. And most recently, the COVID-19 pandemic has also shown us the importance of timely and open publication of trial protocols for transparency, clear reporting, and of course to avoid duplication of effort. In terms of EDCTP's approach and requirements towards clinical study protocols, our work is guided by model grant agreements that are aligned to the EU Horizon 2020 framework regulations, and EDCTP has endorsed the Spirit statement mentioned before, and all protocols for clinical trials should therefore comply with the Spirit statement. EDCTP also expects the study protocol and analysis plan to be made publicly available, with details on how this information can be accessed to be provided in the study registry. EDCTP has committed to developing and implementing a policy on clinical trial registration, publication, and data sharing, which was published in 2018. And this policy really covers expectations around study protocols, study registration, reporting timeframes, and open access to scientific publications and research data. So with these increasing requirements to adhere to certain standards and guidelines, there are still some challenges faced by researchers related to protocol development. And protocols have typically been conceived, reviewed, and finalized within relatively small groups of researchers. So the establishment of an open source platform for designing and refining clinical trial protocols allows global crowd sourcing of expertise. And this could really lead to the optimization of the final protocol. So EDCTP is committed to provide appropriate guidance and support to help researchers develop high quality health research protocols and to achieve these requirements. So we hope that the EDCTP Knowledge Hub will go some way to address the challenges faced by researchers. And our colleagues from the Global Health Network will soon give you a good overview of the hub itself. It essentially consists of 3 components: a protocol development toolkit, which will be the topic of today, a data management portal, and a data sharing toolkit. And these were covered in a previous webinar. So before I hand over back to the chairs, I would just like to give you a few take-home messages of this first webinar on data sharing and data management, to share what was covered there, and also to link up to today's topic. So for those interested, the recording of this webinar is available from the EDCTP Knowledge Hub. And to summarize, it was found that good data management is critical for ensuring the validity and quality of data in all types of clinical research, and it's an essential precursor for data sharing. We do need to have and promote open science, being mindful of the multifaceted nature of data sharing. And while there's generally a lot of support, researchers still do face many challenges with data sharing, and building public trust is essential. And there also needs to be a paradigm shift from data ownership to custodial responsibilities of the data community. Improved data management capacity and better tools for sharing data are needed to ensure equitable access and to achieve a balance in benefits. So overall, it was found that the EDCTP Knowledge Hub plays a role in addressing these needs and serves as a resource with practical how-to guidance all together in one place. We felt it's important to include this today, even though it's not the topic of today, but at the same time, good data sharing and data management plans are also crucial to include already in the protocol development phase. And from that perspective, the topics are actually quite interlinked. So thank you. I will stop here and hand back over to the chairs.
Thank you so much, Johanna. And we just, without further ado, we jump into the introduction to the Global Health Network and the EDCTP topic of today and into the introduction of the Knowledge Hub and the demonstration of the Protocol Development Toolkit. We will have two excellent speakers that I would like to welcome for this part. On one hand, it's Professor Trudie, who is the head of the Global Health Network and has been at the top and I think at the real beginning of this network. She is a professor of global health research and head of global health network at the University of Oxford. Trudie has had an outstanding career, and I think what we really have to underline here is that she has worked in industry, in international organizations, and in academia, and this is really underpinning this wealth of knowledge and of wisdom that Trudie can actually bring to us. The second speaker is Sam Driver, who also works at the Global Health Network in the function as a digital resource manager. He has joined the network about 2 years ago. Sam has a background in scientific and medical publications and publishing, as well digital as also print publications. May I ask Trudie to start her presentation, please.
Well, hi everyone. It's just fantastic to see so many people at this workshop, and thank you very much to our chairs for introducing us. We are really excited to be launching this protocol development tool to you all today, and it's been a really strong partnership activity with all the colleagues that are on this meeting today, and also many more of the collaborators that we work with across the Global Health Network. So the Global Health Network actually began over 10 years ago now from East Africa, and I think it's just really nice to bring this relationship in full circle here with this announcement today, because the very beginnings of the networks of excellence that we have heard from already today were initiated across the regions, and I work particularly closely with Pontiano, who you're going to hear from later on. And what we were really recognizing in those early days, and the very reasons that the networks of excellence were set up, was because we had this recognition, any of us working in the mission of trying to support clinical research studies being led, planned and set up from regions with little or no previous experience. What we were all seeing, which seems so obvious to say, but maybe not always, but the things that make it difficult to plan and initiate and set up a health research study don't really differ whether you're working on malaria, TB, HIV, Ebola, or indeed coronavirus now. And so many of the things to be put in place to help groups run and manage their own studies are the same. And so we set out through the networks of excellence to do this by having groups with lots of experience working with teams with less experience, and really creating that sharing of information between nurses, data managers, lab scientists, and the investigators. And so from that, we set up the Global Health Network, which was really just taking all of that online, but also within the regions as well. And here we are, 12 years later, with a really close working relationship with all the networks of excellence, but also with the other networks that we've heard about today, such as Pandora and Alert. And our work is global as well. And so the Global Health Network is this open partnership collaboration that works across any area with perhaps low experience or low resources in research, and absolutely is all around sharing tools, resources and processes between regions, roles, disease areas and organizations, all aiming to make health research faster and easier and accessible. This is all about trying to bring equity and parity to not only who takes part in health research, but also who benefits, because we are sadly still in that situation where over 90% of health research benefits only 10% of the population, and most research is still led and managed from the global north, and we need to make that shift. So for me, one of the most key barriers is being able to write a good protocol, and often grant applications are written and then that protocol becomes out of the grant application, but here we can step right back and make sure that researchers are able to ask a good question, and then make sure the question is, by looking at the existing data, make sure the question is valid, and then decide what you need to measure to answer that question, and write a really excellent protocol that is appropriate for the community in the context that it's needed, and will answer the questions that it's set. And so Sam's going to take you through how we can do that with the tool here, and also the concept protocol facility that we have here, which can help ask those really urgent questions. So I'm going to pass you over to my colleagues now, but it's a great stage to get to. We really appreciate the support and partnership with EDCTP and also all of our wider colleagues. So I hope you all manage to have a good look around on the EDCTP Knowledge Hub, and also all the many other resources that are available through the platform. So thanks very much, and I'll pass you over to Sam.
Thank you, Trudie. I hope everyone can hear me okay. And I hope you can see my screen, which I've just shared. As Christian said, that I'm Sam Driver. I'm the Digital Resources Manager at the Global Health Network. And the past few years, I've been working very closely with the team here at the Global Health Network and with the EDCTP team on constructing the EDCTP Knowledge Hub and the three toolkits that comprise that. So in the previous webinar, as Johanna explained at the beginning, we covered the data management and data sharing toolkit. So today we'll be focusing mainly on the Protocol Development Toolkit. But for those of you who couldn't attend the first webinar or hasn't been able to see the recording, I thought I'd just cover the way the Knowledge Hub is structured as a whole to begin with. So as the name suggests, the EDCTP Knowledge Hub is a knowledge sharing hub on the Global Health Network. And it can be found through various routes, through member hubs up here in the top right, or through the exploring the themes that run alongside the left side of the screen here. So if I click through to the EDCTP Knowledge Hub, here you are, you should be able to see the landing page. Now, I've only got about 10 minutes to cover as much as I can, and there's such a wealth of resources here. So I do encourage you to take a look after the webinar yourself, have a play around and see what you can find. But I'll try and cover as much as I can about protocol development in this short demo. So the way the hub is structured is we were aiming for, first of all, a one-stop shop for access to freely available tools and resources that could be navigated in various different ways, depending on what each user is coming to the hub for. So we've tried to create a kind of flow of materials through the hub, but also allow people to dip in and out if they're coming for a specific thing. So when creating hubs on the Global Health Network, we always aim to build simple and intuitive interfaces that are accessible in low bandwidth areas. So we try and cater for low bandwidth, and we offer a lot of offline downloadable tools as well. And as you can see, the interface is pretty simple, but it's very intuitive, and the interface is highly visual and interactive. So you can see that there's a navigation menu along the top, and here are the three main toolkits of the Knowledge Hub. We also have an area which will point you to training courses, and just to mention, we've got we are just uploading a brand new data sharing course on the Global Health Network Training Center, so do take a look at that. We also have the webinars tab, and here you can find the video of the previous webinar, and when this is over, we'll upload the recording there, and links to the networks of excellence. So it's a very standard navigation bar here, but also we have this graphic down the bottom, which is all interactive, and you can dip in and out of different toolkits, or you can follow it through as a flow. So today we're talking about the Protocol Development Toolkit, and I will click through to that. And this is the landing page for the Protocol Development Toolkit. And this is an area that is divided up into several sections that, again, you can follow through as a flow, as a process, or you can dip in and out to the main sections. What we aim to do for all these toolkits on the Hub is provide research teams with open access tools, resources, guidance, information, support, and training, so they can produce users can produce high quality protocols for all types of studies. Now, before I walk through the resources we have in this area, I thought I'd talk a bit about how the methodology we use to decide what resources to present here and what tools to build. So the first thing we did a couple of years ago was carry out a scoping exercise to evaluate what exists currently that's free and open access in terms of protocol development guidance and support that's out there. So we, in the similar way to the scoping exercises we performed for the data management and data sharing areas, we utilized specialist deep search software, and through this we fed in 243 search queries to achieve a deep meta search of resources across multiple search engines. This brought up over 5,000 unique results. The next phase of gathering intelligence on what's currently available, the team here at the Global Health Network searched through the GLADE literature, which included use of the snowballing method to identify additional sources, such as regulatory guidance documents and published books. Finally, we carried out a targeted internet search, reviewing examples of shared protocols from expert groups such as Concise and Isaric. All the results that were gathered from these 3 steps were then passed through a quality assurance step that was undertaken by teams, members of the Global Health Network and an independent clinical specialist who reviewed the final list of materials against a predetermined set of criteria. For example, is the resource free and open access? Are the materials from a reputable organisation or course provider? After this Q&A, 94% of the outputs were deemed inappropriate for the target audience or were duplicates, so it left us with about 6% of resources from the original 5,000 or so. So approximately 300 of these are available on the platform. Once the results were filtered out, we applied some keywords to describe the resources, and then it enabled us to try to give us an idea of the particular resource gaps. Now, in addition to all these technical reviews that were carried out, we've carried out many workshops and surveys through the Global Health Network community to find their thoughts on perceived gaps as well. Our main findings were that there are some useful guides available in protocol development, including templates describing essential section headings, but few resources provide specific guidance on how to actually generate the information required to populate these templates. Several resources touch broadly on developing protocols as a collaborative group. There is little information on the local practical processes required for protocol development and review, such as version control and collation of comments. And in addition, there is little open access training course materials specific to low resource settings. So based on all the research, we constructed the Protocol Development Toolkit in an effort to fill these gaps. So going back to the hub then, we can see that from this graphic that it's divided up into several sections. So if I click through protocol development steps, so This is the area where you can find information, support, guidance on the process of developing a protocol. And before I click through to the start of this toolkit, I just want to highlight that there is a download button for this toolkit where you can download each section as a PDF, so you can get an offline version if you like. So the toolkit itself is split into various stages of the protocol development process. And what we've done is create a basic overview of each step with links to further information and examples or templates that will help give you a better picture of that particular step. And will the idea being that each step will lead you, if you want to go through the whole process, lead you through each step of the process. Again, it's highly navigable, so you can jump to a section if you're just looking for a refresher on a particular step, perhaps. If I click through to, I'll just show you a few of these. So this step is things to consider when you're looking at developing a protocol. As you can see, there are overviews, hints and tips, things to think about, and links to training or further information that we found out there. So each step has its own information, and we hope we've broken it up in a very logical way, so it will help guide you in what to think about when developing protocols. And there are, like, here's an example of some example protocols where from external providers that are freely that are publicly available, so you can click through to examples too. As with the other toolkits on the Knowledge Hub, we have the collated resources that we collected through our scoping review. And these resources are all listed out in a nice interactive table. So you can search and filter the table to find some excellent external resources that are freely available. So for instance, you can find links to various different resource type. Now, another major part of the protocol development toolkit are two tools that we've included as part of the toolkit. The first tool is the concept protocol crowd review tool, which we built in-house, which is a very simple online web app to allow the Global Health Network community to provide constructive feedback on a concept protocol, which is recommended initial step of developing a protocol. We also have teamed up with the Women's College Hospital and University of Toronto to provide free access to users, Global Health Network members in low resource settings, free access to their SADTAP tool, which I'll go into in a short while. This is an excellent protocol building tool, which I will run through shortly. So now the concept protocol crowd review tool was built to try and help researchers start turning their research question into an idea, into a more fleshed out idea. And what we wanted to do was allow users to submit their concept protocols onto an online platform that could then be reviewed by experts in the community in a kind of crowdsourcing way, with the aim in mind of helping the researcher who's putting forward this protocol, helping them get it to the highest level, highest quality as possible, right at the outset. So this tool is nice, and in the fact that it's quite intuitive. All you need to do is fill out a few fields, and this is all forms part of a normal concept protocol. So you fill out your institution and study title, investigators and collaborators, site location, research question, etc. And these are brief points just to help get the protocol development process started. You can also upload supplementary material if you have it. Then what happens is,
Sam, I need to ask you to wrap up soon.
Oh right, sorry, so much to show. Okay, yes. So
on like in two minutes max.
Okay, thank you. So this is the concept protocol review. What happens is it appears in the table, and then users can see what other users have submitted and add their comments to the review. You can also download the record. So I'll quickly run to SADTAP, which is a fully fledged protocol development tool. Let's see. That there is a online request form, online access form on the Knowledge Hub page, which you can fill out, and then the access gets assessed. Just try and get my, excuse me. I've been through now to the login. Bear with me. Okay. And SADTAP allows you to start populating a protocol in a very logical and straightforward way. So it's all based online, all online, and it offers you fields and drop downs to fill out your the information you have developed from your concept protocol. And once you've shared your concept protocol around the team and community, you can start filling out the fully fledged protocol using this tool, very helpful tool, which has lots of help hover-overs and hints and tips. And you can probably see this gives you a very quick flavour of what it's capable of. And this tool is, again, you can preview the outputs, so you can share those with your team members to review, comment on, and then feed the comments back into a revised version. And then this will basically gives you a real head start and enables you to actually produce a protocol from this tool. Now I'll just quickly let's come out of this. The last thing I wanted to cover was the study walkthrough toolkit, which is once your protocol has been developed, or as your protocol is being developed, this is where this is a method of gathering your team members together and to walk through the study to try and mitigate against any risks and make sure you've covered everything you need to cover. And these, again, this is a toolkit that's very similar structure to the Protocol Development Toolkit, but it will take you through walking the actual practical steps of turning that research question and protocol into a study. And the last thing, I just want to say there is a feedback button on the homepage, so we really do want you to have a play with this toolkit and give us your feedback, because this is an evolving tool and we're always learning about how to improve it. So, sorry, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure there are lots of questions, but we have to move on. But I guess people can contact you somehow and get some feedback. Thank you so much. So we move on to the feedback from a panel, and the one member of the panel, Oscar Tapera, has been having, who is director of SADTAP Health Research Institute in Zimbabwe, is having some challenges in joining us. So we have Agnès Saint-Raymond, who is the head of International Affairs, European Medicine Agency in the Netherlands, and Pontiano Kalibu, director of MRCU VRI and London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine in Uganda, to provide their feedback. Over to you, Agnès. Agnès?
I was double muted, as always. Hello, everybody. First, I would like to thank EDCTP for inviting me to this very fascinating launch of a tool, which I think is going to serve a lot of the objective that we all have. As a regulator, I would like to say that we very much welcome having standardized protocols and protocols that have more chances of being acceptable to regulatory authorities. We're not the center of the world. It may surprise you that I say so, but we are actually only one step in the process, but an important step in terms of making the medicines or the treatment available to patients. And remember that to be available, they need to be approved. And this is why we are quite an important element in the process. So the important message I want to deliver today is come to us and discuss with us your protocols. Don't be afraid. We're not going necessarily to pile up more requirements, but you must be absolutely certain that the protocol and the trial that you're going to perform will meet regulatory standards. Otherwise, you're wasting the patient time, the patient body, and the resources that are so difficult to find to perform trials. So really do consider discussing with regulators. There are platforms which are free of charge, where you can already have a taste of what would be the direction of travel, what would be needed. So really come to us and discuss. We don't bite. We are actually quite good at talking to people and being nice. And we share the same objective, which is to make medicines available to patients. So the two aspects is formal scientific advice, which is a procedure for which we are expensive, but we have fee reduction for academics. And so please also consider that it may not be so costly if you cannot afford it. And finally, I want to also draw your attention on a number of activities we're doing now, which are also intended to make these medicines available to particular African countries. We provide opinions on products that are then, these opinions are given to national regulatory authorities to use them for an approval at national level, so they keep the decision and the power to decide. We also have currently involved in our evaluation procedure as a new pilot for COVID. We have invited a number of countries to join the evaluation. We have Health Canada, Japan, Swissmedic, WHO and Australian authorities joining on vaccines and products for COVID. So we are opening our borders, we're becoming even more transparent, and we want to share with you. So the tool is an very important step to get, but once you have the content, please come to regulators and discuss with us. Over.
Thank you very much. Pontiano?
Yes, thank you very much. Johanna, I have a few slides to share. Next one. I think let me also start by thanking the organizers for inviting me to participate in this webinar. I must say from the start that I'm very privileged to be working very closely with EDCTP. EDCTP has funded a lot of our activities here at the Uganda Virus Research Institute and within the MRC. And some of these are clinical studies, clinical trials, large trials. But I've also worked very closely with the Global Health Network, Trudie, from the start, and I've seen its growth, providing a lot of good information. In the next few slides, next slide, I just want to reiterate the importance. I think this is a very, very good development. Many of us, when we're starting to write protocols, we do not have the privilege to have a tool of this kind. I've navigated this tool, I've looked through it, and I've seen its importance, giving you different, guiding you, but also making you at least access to some of the tools. I think it's very good for the researchers. Samuel has given a very good introduction to this tool. We very well know that many of our young researchers, even senior researchers in our countries, they need access to literature. They need guidance in grant and proposal writing and application. They need these tools where we can have reference our literature, finding collaborators and mentors to write protocols, identifying and developing good research questions, potential grant calls and sources. So all these are necessary and important. Sometimes when you're alone and you're starting, this can be quite challenging. So I think as addressing some of these challenges, I think this tool becomes very important. Next. I don't want to go into the details of this, but I just picked 3 of those areas that Samuel has went through to re-emphasize really that this tool is very important for researchers. The steps, it gives you good steps and guidance and protocol development as has been shown, giving you practical advice such as how to navigate regulations and guidelines, which is very important. The importance of community engagement and tips on collaborative writing. Some things that you may forget, community engagement, which sometimes we have found that people who are looking at our proposals, scoring and funding, they will go for something you have forgotten. How have you engaged the communities? So it really helps us. The concept protocol crowd review tool, very important, which can invite feedback and advice on your concept protocol from the EDCTP Knowledge Hub and the Global Health Network community, an important tool. Then the study walkthrough method that helps to translate your protocol into an accurate and successful study. This tool describes the study walkthrough approach, why it might be of benefit to your study, and how we can successfully implement the method using practical examples and how to guide us. So these are all quite important. Is it relevant? Are there potential synergies and recommendations we can give? The tool, just, of course, is very relevant, very important. It is very resourceful, but maybe it's not now widely known. But I'm very pleased to see the participation in this webinar, very high numbers. I think this is a very good way of really making this resource quite useful and widely known. Let's do the same, make this widely known. We need to improve on its publicity and utilization, and also to even within using through platforms like the social media. sure anybody who gets access to this will find it useful. I think that I thought of saying that it could make the hub easier to navigate, but working through it, I think it's not so bad. There could be some improvements, but it's good. Collaborating with research institutions and universities to utilize the hub would be quite important. A platform for meeting a diversity of senior scientists who can provide mentorship and support. I think the synergies here, it can be a platform to really meet diverse people. Maybe we need to have a live chat box to respond to some specific queries in real time and video clips as we move forward to improve on this hub and tool so that it can become, always we need to be innovative and see how we can improve it. And also maybe to be able to link to inquirers with potential collaborators. I think this, which sometimes is a challenge. Can it be used? And we can use it more to find potential collaborators. Sometimes that's the challenge we have. You want to do something, but you don't have the potential collaborators. So we need, again, to see how it can help us better to find potential collaborators. And then also guiding the researchers to find relevant topics in their regions. You are there in the region, there are research gaps. Sometimes you don't know. So this tool could also go further in guiding us to find which are the important research topics, where are the priorities, so that people can do more work. And I think the next slide, maybe EDCTP. I've been in EDCTP working, as I mentioned. EDCTP has funded us. I also lead the East African Consortium for Clinical Research. We have now been funded the third round, but I also work with other networks within the region. And I think we have worked with a global network in the past and their tools. And a lot of our members within the network have benefited from the online courses, GCP, GCLP. And in fact, now it is becoming the main source of our capacity building. So we can, again, use it. I want to encourage all those in our networks, in our institutions to use this hub, provide information to improve on it, try to make more publicity to enable our local units so that it's known and is utilized. The opportunities here, providing researchers with the tools and guidance that can enable them to develop and undertake high quality research. So really my message is it's a very good tool. We can publicize it more, use it. It's really an opportunity for many of us. I think I have a last slide. Yeah, I think that was my last slide. So I think in summary, I find the tool very useful. It's very innovative. And there are few areas that we can improve on it, and I just urge people to make use of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. We have Oscar Tapera managed to get in. So Oscar, if you are still in, could you, I'd like to give you 4 minutes to talk. Oscar?
All right. Oscar, thank you, Hannah. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much, Hannah, for this time. And thank you, colleagues. I'm so sorry, my network is very erratic, but I'll try to present in as fast time as possible. So from my side, I got just to give a background that I was got involved with the Global Health Network around May of 2020, and what really attracted me to the network was the potential for huge collaborations with colleagues around the globe, and also to learn from other people's experiences. And through the Global Health Network, and I also managed to volunteer to lead in the health systems, disease surveillance and diagnostic working group. In these working groups, we also potentially, we brainstormed potential research areas, drafted research studies using the concept protocol crowd sourcing tool, and which was quite effective given our spread all over the world. The protocol development kit, the EDCTP protocol development kit, was quite effective in my experience as a leader, which developed different protocols and concepts. The tool, to my experience and to my based on my judgment, was quite helpful in capacitating researchers, given the multitude of expertise that exists in the global health network, and also it facilitated learning as a global community of researchers. And this has been quite an experience for us, and quite a learning curve, learning from other people that are dotted around across the globe. In low to middle income countries, we still have research gaps that exist, especially among young, even some senior researchers. And I think that the EDCTP Knowledge Hub has a great potential to bridge some of the gaps through networking, collaborations, dissemination of tools such as protocols, data collection tools, and standard operating procedures for studies. I also think the ECDP should collaborate with universities and research institutes to scale up the use and adoption of the Knowledge Hub. In my experience and opinion, I feel the aspects covered under the EDCTP Knowledge Hub are quite adequate, and I think that they can be scaled up in different institutions in the low to middle income countries. I've continued to use the guidance in some of the research protocols that we have recently developed, even outside the global health network. And for instance, recently we are involved in a pilot in Zimbabwe whose protocol benefited from the guidance on community engagement, protection of vulnerable populations, which we obviously adopted from the protocol development kit. In a nutshell, I would recommend any researcher or research institute to look into adopting the EDCTP Knowledge Hub and to scale it up and popularize it in their context. I thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Christian.
Thank you so much, and I would like to thank all the presenters for their very, very helpful thoughts. We are now coming back to questions and answers, and I would like to thank all the participants for having written quite a lot of questions. Some of them already have been answered. You can go to your Q&A button on the bottom if you want to provide further questions or to read what has been done so far. To start out with giving some responses and also challenging our board that is presenting today with some of the questions, I would like to quickly go back to Agnès Saint-Raymond and to specifically ask you, Agnès, what do the EU regulators actually do in detail to give support to somebody who is developing a protocol for a clinical trial in a low and middle income country? What in practical terms can be done for such people from your side?
From our side, there will be two aspects I can see. The first one is to check that the protocol will use patient involvement, because that's part of what we would like to see. We are working for products that can be used by patients. We will also try to see the endpoint in relation to this are clinically relevant for patients, and if they make sense and they are going to change something in their treatment and their health. So this is quite important. And the second aspect, more as regulators, will be the quality of the data. So integrity of the data, robustness of the data, all the aspects which are also related to a good clinical practice. So when we see the result of that protocol, we are sure that the result can be trusted and can be used for the purpose of regulatory procedures. Over.
Thank you so much. So what is then the process? At what stage would a researcher get in touch with you? Because this I very much understand and appreciate what you're saying, but this sounds a little bit like you're talking to industry. Now, if you have an academic researcher, how can they get in touch with you in practical terms?
So they could come early, and we have, as I said, a platform which is free of charge called ITF, Innovation Task Force. Don't be afraid with the name. It's also a place where people can talk and try to anticipate issues. What we will do is we want to see the protocol before it is implemented, before the trial, of course. When the trial is done, it's too late. You cannot change anything. So if there was a missed opportunity, it's missed, it's too late. So we want, and that will be an informal meeting where we will bring a couple of experts and the people who have some understanding of the disease, what has been used so far for regulatory purpose as endpoint. Maybe there is some guidance available. If there is no guidance, we will also try to analyze, but we will have a sort of similar process as with industry, but we will make it lighter because we know that we don't have in front of us the same heavy machinery as in industry.
Excellent. Thank you so much for clarification. I think this is really helpful. May I kindly ask you to post the link to this to the entry of this platform into the chat, so we just have that in the records.
I put it in the chat. They are there. They are there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Hanna, over to you for the next question.
The questions. I'm trying very hard. A lot of the questions have been answered. Let me see. Christian, if you're noticing some questions that haven't been answered.
Yeah, and there is some questions that actually have been partially answered, and still I would like to allude a little bit to that. And I just see that Sam, I give you the chance to pick the next one. I just take that one up. And I just see that Sam is working on one. And I think this was a topic today, somehow answered and somehow not. And this is about the confidentiality at the SADTAP tool. There were quite some questions about how IP is protected and how the online data are being protected. And I would like also to add the question, in what country actually are the data for SADTAP being stored? Because, for instance, at our institute, we have very, very strict rules in what countries actually we can allow data to be going. So, Sam, if you're hearing me, can you please just pick up that question for us?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Christian. So I've just been looking through the SADTAP terms and conditions. So the intellectual property side of things, the content of the protocol remains with the user. So the only thing that in the terms and conditions I can see that SADTAP retain are its logos and the code it's created to build the software tool, which is standard a standard practice. So the security wise, let me just quickly read off their security statements. The SADTAP uses industry level SSL encryption to protect the transmission of passwords and protocol content from your computer to this server. The content is encrypted and stored on Linode servers, which is a cloud server platform. And it's compliant with data security standards, US health insurance portability, EU general data protection, and EU, US, and Swiss US privacy shields. There is a bit more, but I hope that answers the question. I will try and send a link of this into the chat, if that's helpful.
Okay, thank you so much, Sam, for this. That's very helpful indeed. Hanna, did you identify something for?
Yes.
Super.
A follow-up question to Agnès about, would you be able to assist us where we are meeting regulatory roadblocks within our existing structures, especially integrating implementation more firmly into the trial protocol and early development stage?
Yeah, so maybe some clarification. We cannot substitute ourselves. We are a EU regulatory authority, so we are not a national regulatory authority, and the decision may require that they are involved and they decide on what's possible. What we can maybe do is try to discuss and understand where are the roadblocks and if there is experience in solving these roadblocks, and maybe liaise with other people who have been able to overcome the difficulties. That's the first point. Scientific advice is more an overall development plan. So it's sort of looking at how the drug or the product is going to move across the life cycle to get approved. But the first discussion could be quite informal and try to see what is our role. We're not, as you know, we're not approving clinical trials. This is not part of the remit of the European Medicines Agency. It is left to the member state, but we have lots of contact with the authorities and the clinical trial facilitation group, which is the core of the member state working together on clinical trial. So we can always put you in contact with these people or try to advise and see what is the best answer or the best advice we can provide. So the first step would be to engage into understanding what are the issues that you're trying to solve. Over.
Thank you so much, Dr. Agnès. This is really, really helpful because, you know, I think you're a splendid, really light tower example of somebody from regulatory authorities who seems to be really helpful and trying to take fear away from people. Throughout my career,
you're making me blush.
No, but you know, throughout my career, I've worked quite a lot with regulators, and they have as ethics committees as well the reputation to be very very strict and very you know, radical sometimes. And throughout the career, I always have met people who were really, really helpful, and I think it's great to have this audience feel that at the regulators, you know, there is people who really are willing not only to go for regulations, but for the matter and for the cause. This is really making me happy. So let's go to the next set of questions, and there I'm a
before you go, I want to echo what you said, because as I sat here, I thought, wow, a person working with regulatory matters who is so open to help. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Hanna.
Thank you to you. Thank you.
We can't underline this too much. And I hope some bosses of Agnès also have heard that. So it's recorded. No, I would like now to go into another area where I have to admit I'm personally also sometimes a little bit lost. And that's the questions that were asked by Verle Lejean and also by Vinette Kotzi about the protocols for diagnostic trials. Because of course, diagnostic trials have a little bit different setup. They're different in terms of primary outcomes. They're different in the challenges and also the risks. And personally, I am not aware of any very good templates or resources as we have it now for clinical research on medicinal products. And I'm not sure if somebody of the panel actually can help us. If not, I would also like to invite all the participants who are now here, who can't speak for technical reasons, but maybe some of you have some resources that you know about, and then we would be so happy if you could actually write that into the response to the question of Verle Lejean, which was posted 12:44. It's one of the first questions that came in. So if you have any input there, and maybe one of the panelists actually knows something. Yeah, that's not a very healthy. That's not a very healthy.
Maybe
silence.
I can just say that at EMA we don't have a lot of diagnostics. In fact, we have mostly treatments and prevention through vaccines. So we don't have a lot of guidance, and we don't do devices. So we are not in charge of devices. Only insofar they are included into a medicine as supportive. So we have a couple of probably a couple of guidance on diagnostics, and I can maybe provide the links, but that's probably not what you're looking for, because you're looking at the specificity of diagnostic trials, and this is where I don't feel that I'm competent.
Thank you so much. I'm just trying. Yeah, Trudie already put the camera on. I would have put you into the spot now. Just asking, is that a topic that you're discussing, or is it also a little bit neglected, as almost everywhere in your organization and your network?
Yeah, exactly. I think what we'll do, because we capture all these Q&As, for ones we've got the space to answer now, we'll pick up and we'll try and do them in the forum. But we'll pick these up through this chat and make sure they're answered, because we put this recording up and also all the responses afterwards, and so we can pick up any questions we've not been able to hear. And the nice thing is we always get answers from the wider community as well. So it's keep posting your questions, and we'll get to those we can. And it's excellent to see these rich questions. It just shows where the gaps appear, and we'll endeavour to ask them live if we can, but if not, we will keep them up on the platform and endeavour to get them answered. We might even pick up with you individually, so do keep posting them, and we'll get through them.
Thank you so much, Trudie, and just stay tuned, because the next one is also going into the same direction. Maybe it's even a little bit further away for you, and I'm frantically trying to find the question when it was asked. I can't find it, but I clearly remember it. It was about qualitative research, and
yes, I saw that one. Yeah, and I did pick it up. I think,
and I think this is the same, even worse in two directions. You may know that about 3 years ago, I have switched away a little bit from strict clinical trials into pragmatic trials, and particularly into implementation research. And since then, we have had a lot of qualitative research that was added to my field. And fortunately, we have very good social scientists and qualitative researchers in-house. But if I look around, I think there is even more need and more gap for guidance there, because at Swiss TPH, as I said, I'm chairing the HSR desk, the Human Subject Research Desk, and I see really, sorry to say, lousy protocols coming in from that side, because people are less, like 20 years, 25 years ago in clinical trials, people are less used to stringent regulations and to a very structured approach. And we have tried in-house now to work on templates. We're not that far yet, but we are working on that. And it's really difficult, because these projects then even differ more than clinical trials differ. That's one part. And on the other hand, it's really difficult, because if clinical trialists start advising qualitative researchers, it can be really going wrong, because it takes us a while to understand what qualitative research is about. And I'm not so sure what we can give as a positive answer today.
Yeah, let me pick that up, because I think it's a really excellent point, and I'm going to slightly broaden it as well. It's very important that we think more widely than just pure interventional clinical trials. And we have pragmatic clinical trials, which are still looking at interventions, but we also have disease characterization studies and the need for social science, and that whole spectrum, the whole ecosystem of health research. And all of these need quality protocols that ask the same question, measure the right endpoints, and are appropriate. And we are really striving across the Global Health Network to meet all of those needs. And the protocol concept tool is definitely geared to all types of health research study. And the SADTAP tool is geared more to interventional, traditional clinical trials. But I think you're absolutely right. And with all of the approaches we're trying to put out across supporting good quality health research. And we use this phrase health research now, and we try and bring that across all we do, because often, of course, the focus needs to be on every sort of study, and all health research studies need to be accurate, ethical and safe. And so I think collectively, us all working in this field need to work harder to develop tools and resources to support all types of health research study.
Okay, thank you so much. And also thanks a lot for the plaidoyer for qualitative research in this framework, because EDCTP, you know, after 20 years of existence, you know, also is moving into implementation research, and then this will become a topic, of course, and a topic of discussion as implementation research becomes more a topic. Hanna, do you have a very short one? I
don't know about short, but there's a question about some worries from Vincent Cortesi about sharing protocols openly before it is registered, and if there are any confidentiality clauses for the crowd reviewers in the concept protocol crowd review. Can anybody answer this?
Yeah, I'll pick that up too. The idea at this stage is it's like open peer review before you've got going, and it's as the person putting up the information, you should be thoughtful about what you're sharing. You can go through this process without even describing the actual intervention if you wanted to. It's quite a flexible and broad tool, and the idea is that you can set out that you're working in a particular field, you're wondering which endpoints to measure, and unless you're working on a commercial product where you're sharing some really important commercial information, there really shouldn't be any issues. And it might be that you are working in perhaps a more sensitive area within the community, and you might want to talk to your community first about looking at research areas. But I think if broadly, it's supposed to be an open step that enables you to get peer review and shouldn't cause any confidentiality issues if you're just mindful of what you're sharing.
Excellent, thank you. Hanna, I'm afraid we are moving towards 5 minutes to 2. Is there any closing words you would like to share before we actually hand over to Michael Makanga for the formal closure of this session?
I'd like to thank all the participants and the speakers for this really important webinar, and the whole concept of having such facilities to help young scientists. I said it in the beginning, you said it, Christian, also. It's really important to allow to have a good, a fair field to give people a chance to answer their very important questions. So thank you all very much for your input and your questions, and of course to thank all the speakers for their enthusiasm and their input. So the next stage, I think I have 1 minute before asking Michael to speak, but Michael Makanga doesn't need an introduction. He's been the executive director of EDCTP, done wonderful work, and I leave the floor to you, Michael, to talk about the next steps in all this.
Thank you very much, Hannah. I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to really thank the organizers of this meeting, and that is the colleagues at the EDCTP Secretariat and the colleagues at the Global Health Network. Thank you for organizing this very important meeting, which is a follow-up from the previous webinar that we had on data management and data sharing. And I also want to thank the chairs for taking us through very well and on time, and to thank all our speakers for the very insightful information that you've shared with us, and to all participants to this meeting. I can proudly say that the last 90 minutes have been time well invested. Now, all these things do not happen without money. And I have to really recognize Sweden and Sida for seeing this as an important area to invest through EDCTP towards this area. Thank you for this investment. Now, moving on, I have to say that EDCTP is fully committed to supporting the development of clinical research and to ensure that we have high quality data generated in all areas, irrespective of location. And this tool provides an opportunity for researchers from both academic and industry settings to generate good quality data. We've been reminded to be practical and scientific in our approaches. And in this, I want to encourage all participants to this forum to make use of the resources that are available at the EDCTP Knowledge Hub. Recognizing that it's not only making the resources available, these resources need to be utilized. And it is through utilization of these resources that these resources can be improved so that you provide useful feedback. We've had a very good walkthrough on the protocol development tool that is available. We've been reminded of the in-house concept protocol that has been developed, which is quite helpful for the pragmatic research. We've also been talked through the SADTAP tool that is available, that is already fully developed and has all the necessary checklists to help researchers to develop really well conceived protocols. And I have to pause a little bit here. Learning and drawing from the experience of COVID, we've realized the need for comparative data, regional data. And all regions, be them low-income countries, middle-income countries, or high-income countries, you can only have shareable data that is of benefit if it is data of integrity and is collected with quality in mind. And I see this tool contributing to this effort. I've been encouraged by the words of Dr. Agnès Saint, representing the European Medicines Agency. And here we've been reminded that standardized protocols are very important in the generation of data of high integrity. This increases the confidence of acceptability on the side of regulators. We want to support high quality research, but at the same time, we also want to ensure that products are developed for licensure and being made available to the people that need them most. For this to happen, both academic protocols that are developed by academic institutions or researchers and industry partners have to be contributing to this effort and comparable. And this is where this tool will play an important role. We've also been reminded that now there is openness from the regulators, and the research community is encouraged to engage early. And it is rare to have the opportunity of talking and anticipating issues, and this is what EMA is now open to. There is now the opportunity for informal scientific discussions, and also, of course, the formal. So this is an opportunity that needs to be utilized. We've had the benefit of hearing directly from the field, from Pontiano and from Oscar, that have shared the experience of the regional networks of excellence, experience from the research institutions, experience from Zimbabwe, as an example of countries that is involved in high quality health research activities. Now, we've had, again, we've been reminded that this tool is available and useful both to young researchers and to established researchers. And it's a tool that will promote collaboration. And I'm hoping that it will also serve as a mentorship tool, so that now there is continuity in the pool of researchers that generate good quality data. Realizing that this is a tool that is relevant, considered to be resourceful, and the need to make it more visible and known by the people that need them most, EDCTP offers this opportunity. And I'm requesting all of you to be advocates for this so that the tool is well known. Moving forward, to conclude, I have to say that both the colleagues at EDCTP and the Global Health Network will be available to continue answering questions that require answers. So feel free to post your questions, they'll be answered. And we encourage all of you to visit the Knowledge Hub through the various mechanisms that have been provided, and also to provide feedback. EDCTP is committed to continue supporting this tool and making the Knowledge Hub even better. And we are counting on you. We are not building capacity for the sake of capacity, but we want the capacity to be optimally utilized. Use it and provide feedback. And moving on from here, we also will be communicating with you regarding the next webinar as part of information sharing as we engage more communities involved in research, in health research on the African region and globally. So with this, I want to thank all of you for participating and for your time.